Hello and welcome. In this video, I will be discussing the ways to reduce extraneous cognitive load when designing online activities. We will be focusing on three principles, including spatial contiguity principle, redundancy principle, and signaling principle. Let's begin. The spatial contiguity principle refers to aligning words to corresponding graphics. This means that a graphic that is being used as a learning tool should not be physically separated from the text. The spatial contiguity principle implies that words need to be aligned with graphics that correspond with the text. This principle allows greatly in the healthcare field, where we are constantly using graphs and images for learning. Where and how we label those graphs should be well thought out. In healthcare, we often use graphs or images in our lessons. This allows our students to get a visual picture of the organ, body part, or process that we're discussing in class. Let's look at two images. They look very similar and both label parts of the heart. However, one image follows the spatial contiguity principle better. The graph on the left increases the cognitive load by requiring the student to both relate a number and a name with each part of the heart. The graph on the right labels the parts of the heart on the actual heart, which decreases cognitive load by eliminating the extra work for the student. Now let's take a look at the redundancy principle. This principle basically states that people learn better from graphics and narration than from graphics, narration, and on-screen text. Our minds involuntarily read text that is on a screen, so it is natural if that text is added to a graphic, then we will first pay attention to the text and then the graphic. In some instances, this is okay. For instance, when there is no audio for an image, then naturally we must add text to it. However, if we have an image with narration and add text to that image, then it is just restating what the narration says. Then it becomes redundant. In doing so, our brains will be focusing mostly on the redundant text instead of the graphic. By removing this unnecessary and redundant text, we can alleviate the cognitive load and allow the learner to focus on the image and the narration. For example, this picture demonstrates what the redundancy principle might look like. On one side, you see the instructor verbalizing the exact text from the image. Without the addition of supplemental information, both spoken and printed text causes cognitive load. Instead, simply show the image on the screen, then either narrate the information or provide on-screen text. And lastly, the signaling principle of multimedia learning refers to the concept that students' learning improves when information is organized and cues are given to highlight the main ideas that are needed. This principle is one of the most important steps in developing multimedia content and one of the many that can be used to reduce unnecessary information hindering the learning process. It is important that information is presented and the learner focuses on information in the correct order to achieve maximum benefit. How competent the learner is about the topic will determine what information they notice first. Beginner level students generally focus on more prominent text first. Then this can cause a problem when the prominent information is not relevant to the subject matter, thus increasing cognitive load. There are many ways to use signaling in your content. When using an image, you can use icons or boxes around information to direct the attention to the items you wish. You can even number sections or information to help draw attention to certain order or organization for the learner. When providing text-based content, you can use the bold function to highlight words or change the color to emphasize importance. Auditory information can be slightly challenging when it comes to signaling. One way to do this would be to pause before or after important information to gain the attention of the learner. You can also use signaling to correspond the auditory and visual content. Thank you so much for joining me today and discussing the three ways that you can reduce extraneous cognitive load. It is very important that we do what we can as instructors to eliminate any unnecessary information and really give our students maximum potential to learn. Thank you.